Welcome, Udo, to the Root of Our Health. It is such a pleasure to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
Hi, glad to be on. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good. I like to start with all of my guests basically in the backstory. So I read your website. I definitely read your bio or your story, and it sounds like you've had a lot. You have your hands in pretty much everything. So I'm obviously a little bit more curious, and so is my audience. Can you give us an overview of who you are, what your background is, and what you learned along the way?
Okay, well, who I am is a work in progress because I'm still finding out
Yep.
in a deeper and deeper way what is actually the nature of being this, right?
Yeah.
The backstory is I was born in Poland when it was part of Germany during the Second World War in 1942. And my parents came from Latvia and Estonia, and we basically lost everything twice, actually. They lost me only once, but they lost it twice. And when I was 2.5 years old, in a winter of 45, we were refugees fleeing out of Poland on horse-drawn hay wagons, on dirt roads with no military presence, being chased by the communists in tanks and trucks. And this was mostly women and young children, because the men were either dead or off to war or in prisoner war camps or wherever. And the Allies, who were supposed to be the good guys to most of your audience and most of my audiences these days, they were using us as target practice, shooting at us from planes. And that happens in war. You know, when war starts to happen, people get really crazy. And my mother, there were dead horses and dead people in the ditches. And my mother had 6 kids, 6 and younger, in tow. And she got to a point where she said, it's safer to walk through the snow-covered fields than to stay on the roads, because they weren't shooting at the fields, they were shooting at the roads. So she took 2 of the 6 kids, because she couldn't handle more than that, walking. And she took 2 of the kids and had to leave 4 behind. And I was one of the ones that was left behind. She left me at a farmer's place. The farmer tried to take us to relatives in Berlin. They had already fled too, because it was all chaos at the time. I ended up in an orphanage, and for I don't know how long, maybe several weeks, until my mother's sister heard about what happened and then came and got us and reunited us with the family. But imagine being a mother having to make that kind of a decision.
Yeah.
That's like,
That's heart-wrenching.
I mean, it was hard on the kid, because at 2 years old, all of a sudden mom's gone. Dad's not there anyway, so mom's gone. Hard on the kid. But imagine a mother having to make that decision about her own kids.
Yeah.
And I think she sat with that like for the rest of her life. She was always very nice to me, probably nicer than I needed. Maybe spoiled me a little. And I think that was a little bit of expiation for the guilt that she felt, but being forced to make that kind of a decision. And then I grew up very shy, kept to myself a lot. I never felt safe, didn't know what I could trust, became a bookworm, because books are safe. You can read about a war, but there are no real bullets flying, right? So we already knew about the real bullets. So it was really intense, noise and bullets and everybody changing their mind every day. So I was very shy, and I got into books, and then I got into science when it came after I grew up, because I wanted to understand how things work. Because when you understand how things work, that gives you a certain amount of predictability and control. And then I got into when I was 6 years old, I listened to adults argue, and it made me really uneasy because they were so intense. And the thought occurred to me, man, there must be a way that we can live in harmony together. In a little cocky voice, I'm going to find out how. 6-year-old who doesn't know how complicated everything is, right? And that's
Yeah.
been kind of my driver actually all my life. We lost the culture, we lost everything, right? And I look back now and say, what a gift, because I actually got to start from scratch. I didn't have to wade through all of the stuff people have to wade through when they have it too good, right? And
Yeah.
often when we have it too good, we become lazy. And then we take, and then we want everybody else to change, but we don't want to change, right? That's that joke, right? Who wants change? All the hands go up. And the question,
Uh-huh.
who wants to change? No hands,
No hands. Right.
right?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah. And so I was lucky. I had it taken away from me really early. It's like kind of like lockdowns. A lot of people had a lot of stuff that they used to do, they couldn't do. Well, I got the lockdown early. It wasn't a lockdown, but we got everything was basically taken away. And how cool that is. Start from scratch, trying to figure it out through science. Then I got into biology to understand how creatures work. Then I got into psychology, how thinking works. Then I got into medicine, how health works. So we only learned about disease. And I had a talk with the dean, and he said, we don't know what health is. We're working on it. And then I went back into biochemistry and genetics, because in biology, in those fields, you actually learn about health because you're studying normal creatures in normal situations, functioning normally. So having biology as background is actually really good if you want to understand health. And then I was still missing something. I ended up leaving. And then eventually I got into psychedelics for a brief time. I did an LSD trip. We called them trips in those days.
Yeah.
And that blew the door off my intensely internalized war baby personality. Literally blew the door off it, because it was like, oh my God, there's 1,000 ways to live. So how do
Yeah.
I want to live? And it just opened up the world of choice to me. And I never saw that I had choice until then. And then that ended. And then eventually I had some very powerful spiritual experiences that were not drug induced, that came from searching and then being excommunicated and uh, uh, judged by Christians in the name of the the teacher of love.
Yeah.
And then I had an experience where a being of light came with a message that it embodied, that I could put words to, and the words were, "I am come not to judge, but to love." And that was, to me, was like, oh my God, there's what I was looking for in biology. You don't find it in biology. You didn't find it. I didn't find it in Christianity, but it came to me as a very powerful personal experience after I was really confused and really desperate and really wanted to know what was the essence of, the life message. There's the standard. I am come not to judge, but to love. That's the message of the masters to humanity. It is also the message of life, which is the master of your body, within your body, right?
Yeah.
Because it runs everything, weighs nothing. It's omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient in your body, for your body. So the master, the life's message to the body is, I am come not to judge, but to love. And then that led, that was like, it just, again, it's like, oh my God, it just completely reframed everything.
Yeah.
And then I started saying, well, I'd like to live in that presence on a moment-to-moment basis. And that led me to somebody who showed me a practice, a stillness practice that I do every day, and I've been doing it for over 50 years. So that's kind of okay. Now we're caught up. Long
Wow.
story.
Wow. No, I mean, you have quite a life basically. It powerful, it started literally when you were a baby,
Mm-hmm.
right? It started
Yep.
then. And it's just so interesting how, and you brought it up, it's so interesting how we take for granted our own lives and our own body and things around us. and it's
Yeah,
unfortunate.
and we
Yeah.
also get entitled. We feel
Yeah.
entitled. And then
Yes.
it's like, well, you should, and I should, and this is my rights. And actually, your life is a gift you didn't earn.
Exactly.
It's an incredible gift that water and air and dust and
Yeah.
solar energy all put together in a certain way enable you to have the human experience of laughing and crying and
Yeah.
joy and dancing and being tired and having to go to the bathroom and having sex
Right.
and having funny ideas. And
Right.
it's like so much. It's like, well, light and water and air and dust can't have those experiences, but when
Right.
they're mixed up in this incredible way, we get to have the human experience. And we only get it maybe 100 years. Before that, billions of years of nothing, no existence.
Yeah.
After that, billions of years of no existence. And here we
Yeah.
are. What do we have to do to make the most of this incredible gift that only we were given to enjoy? Nobody else can enjoy for us. And if we don't enjoy it, it's a wasted gift.
Right.
That's,
Because
to
as
me,
you
is
know,
purpose one of
yeah,
human
and that's
existence, is to
exactly
be
it.
fully present.
Right. Fully present, understanding our purpose, right? Because first of all, it could be taken away like that, right?
Yep.
Things, our health, our
Yep.
life, our homes, there's so many disasters
Yep.
happening now that people are just, we're, again, when we go day to day and we're frustrated with not getting our Amazon package in time,
Yeah. For instance. Yeah.
like,
Hello. Yeah.
there's
It,
there are so many things that can happen, and so it's just a wake up call that we shouldn't even have to have a wake up call. We should
mhm.
be in, like you said, in the present, being and living life, and knowing who we are, and being and doing what we're supposed to be doing in life,
Yeah.
service to others. So
So yeah.
yeah,
Can I? Yeah.
yeah, go
So
please.
purpose one is to
Yeah.
be fully present and enjoy the gift. So to be fully present in all of my being and my surroundings, not lost in thoughts in my head, in my mind.
Yeah.
That's purpose one. If you do nothing else except that, you will be good for this planet because you'll be shining. You'll be radiating love, right? Because that is your essence. That's the essence of your nature, everybody's nature. Life is unconditional, empowering love. And then purpose two, it's easy. Now I feel cared for. It's not about me anymore. So then it's kind of like, okay, where can I help? What needs to be done around here? What's the biggest splash for good I can make in the time that I have? That's purpose two. Purpose one is be here, because you are, and don't get scattered and don't get spaced out and don't get unfocused and don't
Yeah.
get, distracted. Purpose two, how can I help? It's really simple, actually. It's that simple. How can I help? And then that's day to day, whatever comes up. You
Yeah.
have some input, you shine some light into it, you give a little kindness to it, you express a little love to it, right?
Yeah.
You help. I see people. I live here with lots of tourists, and when they're standing on the sidewalk and they're turning the map upside down and they're trying to figure it out, and and I just say, okay, where are you trying to go? I'll just go there. Where are you trying to go? And then
Yeah.
it's just little things. It's not like big things, because the big thing is life taking care of you. It's already happening. Nobody on the outside can take that kind of care of you. They can be there, they can do a little bit, and they can, but your life runs the show from the inside, right? That's why your eyes blink. That's why your mouth isn't dry. That's why you know when you need to eat. You know when you need to pee. You need to know when you need to sleep, because life gives you all those signals and runs you, and you're pretty good at following those signals. So that's why you go to bed when you're tired, because you know what it means. You eat when you're hungry. You drink when you're thirsty. You breathe because you need air, right?
Yeah.
So life is just taking care of all of that. So the things we do is little things for each other, but for the animals, for the environment, for all the living things. That's it. It's like simple. Life is
Yeah.
simple. Life is simple when you're present. When you go in here, we make it really complicated. And then it doesn't work. Let's look at the politicians who are just arguing about ideas over here all the time. And they're not doing anything to make life better in America or in Canada or in Germany or in wherever you go. Right? Man. You
Yeah.
should, and you should, and you should, and we're gonna, and you, and it's just like having mental wars everywhere. Instead of, hey, we all get hungry, we all need sleep, we all worry about our kids. What can we do together to make it work for everyone? Is there a reason why it shouldn't work for everybody? I cannot think of a reason why love would not be for everybody, or peace, or inspiration.
I agree. And just to be on the same page as you, I literally have a tattoo that says live, laugh, love. Love is, I being in the health coaching and the wellness space, you live in the heart centered, right? And
Have to.
we do,
You want
you
to have a
have
good
to.
life, you have to.
You have to. I mean,
Yeah.
it's no matter, what the external may come at you, greet it with open arms and lessons learned
Yep.
and loving and, all of that. Cause it's only how you react that can teach you that lesson.
Right.
If you,
Right.
if
And
you
and
react,
you create your own lessons by your
you
reactions.
create
Because if you do stupid
exactly.
things, there are lessons there. Right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? I mean, what we're saying is we're all human. We're all human beings.
Yeah.
And, you having that biology background as well. So, our biological, function and how we should function. Like you said, when we should sleep, when we should
Yeah.
eat, things like
Yeah.
that our bodies are telling us, yet our minds are saying, or we're overthinking
Yeah.
or
Just about everything.
underthinking. Yes,
Just about everything. Overthinking or
exactly.
underthinking. Yeah.
Underthinking, like we're
Yeah.
not, we're just like, yeah. And so it's awesome that you're kind of taking a step back and going back to our roots, so to
Yeah.
speak, right? Our nature, our who we are as human beings, because it's just, I mean, we're literally spirits in a meat suit.
Yeah.
We're literally spirits when we die. I mean, I don't know what you believe in, but when we die, I believe that our spirit is literally still going around.
Well,
Um,
spirit is energy. The
Energy,
energy is
yes.
solar energy. And that solar energy goes through 93 million miles of space, filtered by that, then filtered through the atmosphere, then filtered through green plants, then
Yeah.
is stored on bonds between atoms in molecules. We eat those molecules. In our cells, those get broken down. When the bond is broken, that solar energy is released. And now we call that solar energy life.
Yeah.
Life is solar energy. Life is also the master in your body because it runs everything. I already said that, right? And then
Yep.
instead of doing more, we should mostly do less and spend more time being than doing, because we're supposed to be human beings, but we're actually become human doings.
Doings.
So you
Yep.
want to fix the environment, do less. Don't do more. The lockdowns showed us that. The air got clean over China, and the dolphins went back into the canals in Venice because the water was clean, because everybody wasn't putting oil in the water with their boats and stuff, right? Their
Yeah.
motorboats. And the air became cleaner, and the colors. It seemed to me like the flowers had more color. The water, you could see deeply into the water, which you usually can't in where I live. So do less, except maybe manage water better and plant trees. Those two make sense. Nothing else really makes sense. So we
Yeah.
should do less and be
Yeah.
more, because in the being is where you discover your magnificence. So stillness practice is the foundation of discovering what is divine in you, what is eternal and immortal and indestructible in you, which includes the energy that solar energy, it doesn't just all of a sudden not exist when your body crashes, right? That energy
Yeah.
goes on. It goes where energy goes, right? And you are that energy. You are not
Yeah.
actually the body. That's why you say, this is my body. Somebody says, whose body is that? Oh, that's my body. Well, I just told you, I'm not the body. I'm the owner. Who's the owner of the body? Life is the owner of the body. And that life is what all the masters talked about, because they actually did a stillness practice. And they were in touch by bringing their focus inside of the space their body occupies. And what they discovered in that space is light. That's where the saying comes from. If your eye is single, your whole body will be filled with light. It's sound. The word in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God, right?
Yeah.
That sound is inside of you. You can hear it if you get quiet. And then there's, in your emptiness, you can feel love. That's the heart-centered, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I say to people, if you're heart-centered, you become a little less tall, because you're not here, you're here, but you
Yeah.
become a lot more wise, right?
Yeah.
And so you can actually experience that subjectively, and that is the master in the body, and that's what all the masters talked about. And they didn't say, I'm the only one and you guys are all screwed. They said, what I have, you have. And if you do what I do, which is stillness practice, and sit in your being, you will discover what I discovered, and even more you will discover, because I gave you a head start, and you didn't have to figure it all out yourself. There's a whole other different way. The whole thing that we call religion is supposed to be a personal experience, not a head
Yeah.
trip, not a memorization of scriptures. You can do that too,
Yeah.
but when it becomes real, when it's an experience. And we
Yeah.
need that probably more than anything else on this planet.
I agree. I
Because
agree.
out of love, you don't destroy each other, yourself, the planet, nature,
Right.
and do all the stupid thing we've done because we didn't make that a priority, like we were always suggested we should. Seek first the kingdom, right?
Yeah.
And the kingdom is within you. Seek that first, and everything else will start falling in place.
Yeah.
When you have that as an experiential foundation.
Yeah, and what you're saying is making so much sense. It's unfortunate though that fortunate and unfortunate, just because the technology nowadays is kind of making sure that we don't have that human experience, or that we're not in line and we're not.
No,
But
can I argue with you a little?
yeah, well, no, please do, because I was going to
Here's
give a but if you want to go ahead, yeah, yeah,
here's the thing. All it takes is one distraction, and you're off your center. Could be a leaf fluttering in the breeze. Could be if you're sitting in a monastery, a
mm-hmm.
pretty woman going by on the street. You only need one distraction, right? Because
Right.
either you're present or you're
Right.
distracted. And now we have 1 million distractions possible, but you only need one distraction to be distracted. So it hasn't changed at all. And your heart aches to come home. Like when people feel heartache, greatest gift you've been given other than being alive. Because life is calling your focus to come back home inside,
Yeah.
to your wholeness, which
Yeah.
you were in for 9 months in the womb. Because there was nothing to do and nowhere to go. And everything was safe and everything was taken care of. And you were just hanging out like a little yogi I call it the Buddha tank, right? So when you were in the Buddha tank, you were in deep meditation for the time you spent there. And then you came out, and then your focus went out into the world through your senses, because now you have to figure out what's friend, what's foe, what's irrelevant. And every time something changes, you're attracted to it, right? It's true. I give a talk and I'm at the front and everybody has attention. If the side door opens, every head goes to the side door. I totally lose my audience, right? It happens all the time. Because the moment something changes, you have to assess it. Do I run? Do I embrace it, or do I just ignore it? And you have to do that all the time, because things are always changing in the outside world, right? So it's easy to get distracted. So what happened? We started focus inside, present inside, absent outside when we are in the womb. And now we are present outside in our focus and absent inside. And when we disconnected from our wholeness inside, that's where heartache began. And that heartache is an uneasy feeling in your chest. There are tons of triggers. Those are all the distractions that you hoped would fulfill you, that you looked for on the outside, when the only thing that can fulfill you is coming back inside. That's what the being and the stillness practice is for, right? So I have a girlfriend and she dumps me. My heart aches. What do we call it? Blues, right?
Yeah.
Blues.
Well,
There's a
yeah.
whole music about heartache,
Yeah.
blues, right?
Yeah.
Or you
Yeah.
call it loneliness. If I feel disconnected, but I want to
Yeah.
make a connection on the outside, but it's actually the heart calling me home to make the connection on the inside. So we have the triggers are not the cause of heartache. Somebody dies.
Yeah.
Somebody leaves. Some hope that you had gets thwarted, right? There's so many things that make a heartache. And it's always those triggers. We name what the feeling by the trigger, but the trigger is not the cause. The cause is our original disconnection from ourselves after we were born. And the heartache is the call to come home. That's why it's such a great gift, because if there wasn't that call, it's kind of like the hunger makes food relevant, and the thirst makes water relevant. Heartache makes the stillness practice of being relevant. Greatest gift you've been given other than being alive, because if it wasn't for that heartache, you'd get lost and you would never find your way back. How incredible is that?
That's
But
beautiful.
nobody tells you that.
No, because we
When
don't
your
want to feel
heart
the
aches,
pain. I think it's because we
and
don't
then
want to feel the pain.
right, and so we don't like it, and then we try.
Yeah.
What do we do? We either distract ourselves from it, or we
Yep.
try to ignore it, or we try to deny it, or we try to explain it away by some spiritual head trip, or we blame it on somebody. You always, you never, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, no, when your heart aches, and you don't have to look for heartache because there's enough disappointments in the world of change. When you have heartache, be with it. Sit, feel it. Acknowledge it. Embrace it. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Maybe be grateful for the power that it has to get you out of your head, ground you, put you in heart space, and then that far behind, like not less than a hair's breadth behind the heartache, is that wholeness that you disconnected from. That's the call home. It's like the prodigal son comes home, or paradise regained, right? Whatever the way. I mean, there are stories, or the hero's journey. The hero comes home. The dragon is heartache. He has to slay the dragon, but that's maybe not a great metaphor, because you don't slay the dragon. You actually merge with the dragon, and the dragon turns into love. And then you come and you have a gift because you slayed the dragon, and the gift that you bring back to your community is always based on reconnection and the love that you find when you reconnect. Wow.
Great. Yeah, it's powerful. It's powerful. It's a powerful, way to look at it. Powerful, yeah. I
And
can't say any more about that.
I think I interrupted you twice.
No. Actually, well, I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on a little bit, just to kind of get into another world of what you do, because again, you have, it's just a fascinating background in what you're already doing. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing in terms of oils. So, you know, I read a little bit about flax oil. So if you can kind of go into more detail of how you
Yeah.
got started with that, what's going on, and also benefits.
Yeah. To continue the story, I got married.
Yeah.
We had 3 kids. My marriage broke up. And I was really upset. And I wanted to kill something. So I took a job as a pesticide sprayer because I had had a gardening job and I had gotten a pesticide sprayer's license. I got 99.5% on the exam, so I knew my stuff, right?
There you go.
And so I took this job because when you spray pesticides, they're only meant to kill things. So I literally wanted to kill something. And pesticides are poisons, and they interfere either with nerve function or with respiration, with oxygen. That's how they kill creatures. Well, except all creatures have a lot of chemistry in common. And if it's bad for the grass, probably not good for you. If it's bad for the insect, probably not good for you either. And so pesticides are poison, and people get poisoned by pesticides on a pretty regular basis. And there's lots of court cases, especially about glyphosate and Monsanto and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I sprayed them very carelessly for 3 years as a job, walked barefoot over the lawns I sprayed till the skin peeled off the bottom of my feet. Then I wore rubber boots, Wellingtons, wellies, right? And I sprayed in a bathing suit because it was a summer job and I wanted to have a tan. And the wind would drift the spray on my back. And somebody asked me, "Aren't you worried you're going to get poisoned?" I said, "Nah, I'm immune." We call that testosterone poisoning. Young men suffer from testosterone poisoning often until they have their first disaster, self-created testosterone-driven disaster.
Yeah.
So I got poisoned. And I went to a doctor, said, "What do you have for pesticide poisoning?" And I should have already known that, but she said nothing. So we have it, we spray them. There's consequence. Well, we don't deal with the consequence. You're on your own, right? So, okay, I said, well, I had biochemistry background. I knew molecules and I know biology. I have a pretty good background. Let me figure it out myself. And I got really interested in nutrition because your body is made out of food plus water and air, but I was just focusing on nutrition. And the idea is that your body's always turning over. The reason you have to eat is because you have to bring in building blocks that life uses to recreate your body because it's always turning over. And in 1 year, some estimate 98% of all the atoms in your body that are present in your body right now, if we meet 1 year from now, 98% of those atoms will have been removed and replaced. You will not have even noticed. You're still going to have the same silly ideas you have or the same good ideas that you have, but your body will be almost completely new. But the fact that this turnover happens means that healing is possible. Because all you have to do is, if something goes wrong with the body, then you have to raise your standard of intake of food, water, and air, and maybe sunshine. And within 1 year, you will have rebuilt 98% of your body to a higher standard. That's called healing. And healing is possible only because it's always turning over. So I got into the literature, the science literature, Medline, looked at everything. Minerals, vitamins, amino acids, fatty acids. There are 42 essential nutrients your body can't make but has to have, that life needs to build the body. And if you don't get enough of any one of them long enough, you die. So these are like really important. And if you are going down because you're not getting enough, but before you die, you bring enough back into your diet, then all the problems that come from not getting enough are reversed. Because life knows how to make a body, provided you take this one little responsibility at your mouth to make sure that all 42 essential building blocks land in your body in optimum quantities so life can build you an optimally functioning body. And all of those building blocks come from nature, right? Because we are part of nature and we are made from nature. And what we eat and drink and breathe also comes from nature, right? So I started doing that. And then I got confused in the area of oils because one study said omega-6 is essential. Can't make it, gotta have it, gotta get it from outside. If you don't get enough long enough, you die. if you bring it back before you die in adequate quantities, everything that comes from not getting enough is reversed. And the very next study I read said omega-6 gives you cancer and kills you. And my head exploded. How the hell can you have to have it to live and be healthy, and it gives you cancer and kills you? That's so contradictory. You can't have it both ways. And so I said, what am I missing? What am I missing? And I started looking at how oils are made. And what I realized is that the way we make oils with omega-6 and omega-3, which are the essential nutrients from oils, that's the only two. They're the most sensitive of all our essential nutrients. They are damaged by light, by oxygen, and by heat. They're very sensitive. They need the most care, and we give them the least care. We throw them in the frying pan and turn them into smoke. Well, you know that you've changed the molecules. If you start with oil, you end up with smoke. Yep. And you burn the food, and you burn the oil, and you burn whatever it is, carbs or proteins or oil itself. When you overheat them, you increase inflammation and you increase your risk of cancer. Independent for carbs, fats, and protein, independent of each other. Each one of them increases inflammation and risk of cancer. And when I found out that the damage done by this is in the frying pan, but the industry, when they make colorless, odorless, tasteless oils that you line the shelves in plastic bottles, there's plastics in that oil, there's pesticides in that oil, there about 0.5 to 1% of the molecules are damaged. And if the oil is 1% damaged, then in a single tablespoon of that oil, you will get, well, guess how many damaged molecules? Give me a number.
Oh my God.
Give me a number.
1,000?
1,000. Okay. So would you like to know the real number?
Sure, because I'm sure it's much higher.
1,000 has 3 zeros, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The actual number has 19 zeros. 60 quintillion damaged molecules. So what does that mean? You are underestimating the damage you're doing to yourself, the damage you're taking in by a quadrillion times. Not million, not billion, not trillion, quadrillion times. 19 minus 3, by 16 zeros.
Yeah.
Now, so then I say,
insane.
Okay, yeah, isn't it?
That's insane.
So you're going to fly home for the holidays, right?
Yeah.
And you're about to get on an airplane. And so somebody who always tells the truth comes to you and says, hey, by the way, did you know that your chance of crashing and dying on this trip home is 60 quadrillion times higher than you thought it was? Would you get on the plane?
Nope.
No, I was in Ireland. I told them I would canoe back to Canada. if I found that
That's
out.
a long trip, but hey,
right?
I get it. Yeah.
So, and the point why I'm saying that is we underestimate the damage we're doing to ourselves by, at least every time I've done this, I do this all the time when I do talks, they always underestimate the damage done by the processing, just by the processing, before the frying, which is even worse, right?
Right.
By at least 1 billion times. 1 billion times is nine zeros, right?
Yeah.
1,000, million, billion. It's 9 zeros. At least 1 billion times too low. And then the question I ask is, well, if you realize that you're doing something to yourself that is like 1 billion times worse than you think it is, maybe should you rethink oils? Maybe should you be getting oils made with health in mind? When I found that out, I said, man, I can't get healthy on oils like that.
Yeah.
They have pesticides in them. I've already got a problem with that.
Yeah.
We should be making oils with health in mind. And so then I developed a method. You have to have a very tight method from the time the oil is in a seed, where it's protected by nature's packaging. It's very good packaging. But through the pressing, the filtering, the settling, the filling, till it's in a brown glass bottle, so no plastics, from organically grown seeds, so no pesticides, nitrogen flushed, in a box to cut the light out, in the fridge, in the factory. You know, through all of that, you want no light, no oxygen, and only low temperature to be in touch with the oil. And I developed a method for doing that because I understood what the issue was. And then out of that, then the year after I got poisoned, flax, omega-3s were established as an essential nutrient by can't make it, gotta have it, gotta get it from food. If you don't get enough long enough, you die. If you bring it back before you die in adequate quantities, everything is reversed. That comes from not getting enough, right? So by that definition, omega-3s fit that definition. And that was in 1981 when that was established. I got poisoned in 1980. When I found that out, I said, oh my God, if we could make omega-3s with health in mind, because they're 5 times more sensitive to damage than omega-6s. So you even get a bigger mess if you process them the way industry does. Oh my God, if we could make them with health in mind, 99% of the population doesn't get enough omega-3s for optimum health. That's what I learned. Every cell needs them. They're essential. Oh my God, if we could make them with health in mind and bring them back to the people, we could help almost everybody.
Yeah.
And I got so excited. Oh my God, I just found a purpose for my life. This is worth doing, right? And so we built that, and then the richest source of omega-3s easily available is flax oil. It has twice as much omega-3 in it as fish oil does, but in a more basic form. Fish oils are still even more sensitive to damage. That's why they stink so much and burp on you, and why if you get fish oil in a glass bottle, not in capsules, you open it up, it's in your fridge. Within days, you can smell the rancidity because the fish oil get damaged so quick. So we use flax oil. Let your body make the derivatives, the conversions. If you eat properly, your body can make the conversion. It's not a problem at all, even though you always get told, oh, the body can't convert. It's not true. It's not true. The research has, even long before we came out with flax oil, the research was already showing the conversion. But you have to eat right, because if you eat poorly, then you slow down the conversion. And anyway, so started making flax oil in 1986, went public with it in 1987, did a big tour in a van without air conditioning in the hottest months in 1988 through the US, 35 states, 17,000 miles by road, 85 cities in 101 days. And we talked to everybody, and we were just so, I mean, the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Oh my God. There's something that just feels really good in the heart when you help. I think it's built into it. Helping is like, it's natural to us.
It's addicting.
Unless you completely screw it up in your head, right?
Yeah,
it's like an addiction. It's not, it's a good addiction. It's like breathing is a good addiction.
Yes. And, if that word is, can be out there, it's a good kind. Yes.
And so flax oil became the second highest selling oil in 2 years in the health food trade where we were active. And then I became omega-6 deficient on flax oil because omega-6 is also essential, and the two have to be in the right ratio to each other. I didn't know that.
What is that ratio? What is that ratio?
The ratio in flax is 4 times more omega-3 than omega-6. That's too high.
Okay.
We brought it down to 2 to 1. Twice as much omega-3 as omega-6. You're getting omega-6s, so because they compete in the body. So you got to make sure that both of them get to do their jobs by getting the ratio right.
Yeah.
And so we did that, and we ended up making a blend. It's called Udo's oil. That is twice as rich in omega-3 as omega-6. It's a blend of 9 ingredients, all organic, in glass, in a box, all refrigerated. If it's on the road more than 2 weeks, we ship it refrigerated, like to Asia and Europe. And so fundamentally, and then I went to 40 countries, spent 6 to 9 months a year, every year for 15 years, traveling, talking about oils made with health in mind.
Wow.
So it's been like, and it was an area that was completely neglected. It was so contradictory, and people lie about it all the time. And even now, people are saying, you shouldn't use seed oils, you shouldn't use omega-6s. No. Omega-6s are essential for the health of every cell, but they need to be made with health in mind. So we make them with health in mind, and making oils with health in mind is the key for getting the health benefits that come from oils. and that come from the essential nutrients omega-3 and omega-6 that oils contain. So that's kind
Nice.
of, and then I got into digestion with digestive enzymes and probiotics, and then I got into greens, because greens are the foundation of everything. That's what should be at the bottom of the food pyramid, not carbs. Carbs is why so many people are overweight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then, and then I said, like, okay, what else? What else, can I do to improve health? Biggest issue is inspiration. So you can inform people, but a lot of people are very informed, but they don't put it in practice. Why not? Because they're not inspired enough. When people are inspired, it's not hard to change habits. Because if you feel like you're on fire for being alive and, oh my God, this is so good, then you'll do whatever it takes to prolong it. If you're not inspired, and it's, everything's pretty hard. If you're not really bummed out, like depressed, and you're going to do the minimum. And if you're really, really, really bummed out, people will destroy their own body because life is not worth living. But when you're inspired, that's where life worth living lives.
Yeah, and it goes back to the whole purpose, and the the meaning.
It became really clear to me that as important as it is to give good information is to inspire people so that they actually take that information and make the changes to make the quality of their life better.
Agree. And that's, along with what you're doing as a coach, that's my job as well, is to, help them change their behaviors and inspiration and mental, it starts with that. With that. And then obviously the products go along.
I think inspiration leads to insight.
Yes.
And then insight,
it's an openness of the mind.
Yeah, and then when I have an insight, I own it. Like if you tell me what I should do, that's just your trip, and I can say, yeah, I'll do it, or I'll say, whatever.
Well,
right? But when it's my own insight, and I get such a clarity, then it becomes a change in my mindset. And so I love insight. Pretty much all my changes come from insights, and insights come from inspiration, and inspiration comes from sitting down, getting quiet, and just observing what is.
Yeah.
And then the insight comes, and literally they're all there. They're already, all the insights we need are already inside of us, but we have to sit still for them to become apparent. Yeah. And then we can put them in practice. And that's how you get from being a war baby to being like excited about living and living in the world.
Well, I mean, goodness gracious, the age that you are, you couldn't even tell that. It's just amazing.
81 and still immature.
I mean, and that's the mindset that you should have. That's what you're doing is what is making you young, and the longevity. Yeah. This is actually my wheelhouse in talking about longevity and what you're doing, putting out there with the oils and the human being, the in the present is human and nature and everything. Getting back to that. That's when that's the answer for longevity, is getting back to nature, getting back to our roots.
Living in line with nature and your nature.
Right. And service. So then that's one part is the nature, then the service part, the community part.
Service is also part of your nature.
Well, right, but I'm talking about like tangible versus kind of not. So but
to be able to serve, you have to be able to get out of your head, because when you're in your head, you don't hear and you don't see. So if you can't see what's going on, you can't help. Right. So you have to. So when you're fully present in all of your being and your surroundings, you're not in your head. So then whatever comes, you can deal with it. It's not hard. Nothing is ever that hard.
No. So
unless we neglect it, and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
awesome.
So yeah. Anyway,
awesome. So then
I'm 81 and I'm just getting started.
And that's amazing. That's amazing. And that my what I say here on this podcast is you're never too old to do anything. You're
Absolutely.
never too old. Like,
Yep.
doesn't matter. 81, I mean, come
Yep.
on, you know? So
Because life is ageless.
yes, we only
Your
put
body.
numbers on it.
I got a few wrinkles. I got white hair. But life
Yeah.
is ageless, and I feel who's looking out of my eyes is the same thing that was looking out of my eyes when I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
That doesn't change because something in you is unchangeable, indestructible, formless, and unchangeable. Your life,
Yeah.
the peace that's the foundation of your life, and then the flow of inspiration that is the shine of life into the world. Those never change.
Right.
But you have to sit still to get in touch with that so that you can bring it to expression.
Yeah. And it just brings to I just realized and thought of this. It kind of reminds me of Viktor Frankl. Do
Oh,
you know
yeah.
The Man's Search for Meaning?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what you're describing, what you're saying, what you've gone through, that's it correlates in my mind is what he went through, and just in
Yeah.
general, like hard
Yeah.
time, just destruction,
Concentration camp.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Concentration camps, and how
yeah,
in the concentration camp where you're being treated like crap,
yeah,
how do you find within yourself the impulse to help the other people and even be nice to the guards?
yeah,
And he found that in the
yeah.
in the in the camp because it was within him. But it's within every human being.
It
Even
is.
the
It's just
guards, and the other
yeah,
guys who never found it, but they didn't look for that. And
yeah,
that's what saved him. That's what kept him alive. That's what kept him healthy, because that flow is the nature of health.
yeah. Amazing. I know.
Yeah,
I know. It's what
Viktor
we all
Frankl.
need to understand is to get back to that, to understand that we have it in us.
Yeah,
So
every
where
human being,
can yes.
every human being, every human being.
Every human
8
being.
billion people. Imagine we all lived
Yes.
like that. Imagine what the world would be like.
Oh gosh. Gosh. I mean, nowadays I
And
shudder to
that's
think what the future is going to be, and
Yeah. Well,
unfortunate is
that's the solution to every problem on the planet. Because all our
yeah.
problems begin with the disconnection from the heart. So reconnection to the heart is the solution to every problem, because then we live into the world different, because we have a
Yeah.
different experience of who we are in the world. So I'm trying to get this conversation out to 8 billion people.
Same
You
here.
know?
That's why we're
Yeah.
doing this podcast.
I know. Yeah. Thank you for
That's
doing it,
why,
because
yes. I mean, and
because
yeah.
yeah, because
Yeah.
if you weren't doing this and getting it out to your group, I'd
Yeah.
be in the bathroom talking to myself in the mirror, and and I already know this stuff. So it's not. I appreciate that you're doing that part, because that's not the part that I'm good at.
Yeah. Well, what you are good at is doing a lot of, creating and being just the inspiration that you were just talking about, right?
Yeah,
You are that inspiration.
yeah.
So,
Soul searching to find what's already there, waiting to
yeah,
be rediscovered.
ignited and
Yeah,
coming out. So
yeah.
the question that I have is where, so you talk about all of your oils and things that you have done, Udo's choice. Where is that in the US? Where can people pick that up?
Well, the products are all in the natural foods industry, but
Okay.
you can also get them on Google. But I always like to support the industry. It's in the natural food stores. The oil is in a brown glass bottle, in a box, in the fridge, in the supplement section, in the health food stores.
Yeah.
So are the probiotics. They're made by a company called Flora. And we have age-specific probiotics blends, and we have condition-specific probiotics blends. We could do a whole other thing on that whole story. It's a cool
And we
story.
will. We're going to do
And
a
then
part two, definitely.
digestive enzymes, they're usually on the shelf. The one I use, again, it's a Flora brand product, and it's called advanced adult enzyme blend. That's super good for colds and flus. You chew up the capsules because the enzymes digest the protein coat off viruses and put them out of commission before they even get in your cells. So
Awesome.
very, very cool thing to do. So the website for that, udoschoice.com.
Okay.
And I have another website for the big picture stuff. It's a mess. It's still a work in progress. And that's udoerasmus.com, UDO, or the Udo, THEUDO.com.
Got it.
And I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram, and I have a YouTube channel, and what else do I have? I'm on LinkedIn, so I'm not hard to find. If you go on Google and you just punch in
Search your name.
UDO, there are not many Udos around. I will be on the first page.
I'm sure you will, which is amazing.
I always thought it was a weird name to have, but it's actually very handy now.
It works in your favor. Tell you, it works in your favor. Gotta love it. Udo, yes, we are going to do a part 2 because literally I was entranced and loved our conversation today. But I did have like a bunch more questions that I really, really wanted to get through. But definitely a part 2. This was such a pleasure having you here. So, well, before I let you go, though, there is, and I know you're going to be rocking this question. My last question that I always give to my my guests is, what is your favorite quote or words of inspiration? You already gave it, but if you have any more.
Oh boy, yeah, you got 6 hours.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Maybe a favorite quote would be a little bit.
No, so favorite quote, honestly, you, in your nature, no matter what people have told you or what you tell yourselves on your bad days, you are unconditionally loved, and your nature is unconditional, empowering love, and you are magnificent in your being. But you make a distinction between your being that you feel and your head, which is full of garbage. A lot of which is like not true, and people dumped it on you. Don't take your sense of yourself from anything you've ever been told. Sit still, find the experience of your own being, and discover the magnificence and the awesomeness that you are in your essence. And then everything else will come together because you'll be together, because you'll be able to respond to whatever life throws at you from such a powerful place that you will turn darkness into light, and you will turn disasters into joy. Okay, I just made that up. You know that, right?
That's beautiful.
But it's true. No, but it's 100% true.
Yeah, and wow. So thank you. I knew that you would come to this question with a powerful inspiration. So Udo, thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure. Loved our conversation, and we are going to do a part 2. So thank you again.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yep. And to my audience, you be well, and you are worth it.